Good morning. My name is Maddie Tanaka, and I will be your chairperson for today's Spring Ohigan service. Are there any visitors or new students and families here this morning? If so, welcome to our temple. Could those of you sitting near them help them find the proper pages for the sutras, gathas, and readings? Thank you. First, we will have Sambujo on page 24 in the Big Book, followed by sutra chanting Juseige on page 23 in the Little Book, or page 93 in the Big Book.
Ooh. this occasion of the spring Ohigan service, the members of the San Jose Buddhist Church Betsuin have reverently come before me, the Buddha. With deepest reverence and thankfulness for the all-embracing wisdom and compassion of Amida, we reaffirm the three homages. I go to the Buddha for guidance. I go to the Dharma for guidance. I go to the Sangha for guidance.
Saibot
Namanda, 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 namanda.
We will now have Daihyo Shoko by the following organizations: Cub Scout Pack 611, Boy Scout Troop 611, Daisy Troop, Brownie Troop, Junior Girl Scout Troop, Cadet Troop, Senior Girl Scout Troop, Ambassador Troop, Lotus Preschool, Morgan Hill Dharma School, San Jose Dharma School, San Jose Junior YBA, DSPO, San Jose Betsuan, Now we will have Gatha with Gassho from the Heart, which is on the second and third pages of the yellow handout, followed by the Golden Chain, which is located on page 2 in the Little Book or page 15 in the Big Book under Golden Chain 1.
Okay. So we have no organist today, so use your imagination. Okay. All right. 3, 2, 1. Here we come together, supper near and some are far. In spite of all our differences, we reach for the same bright star. And on this human pathway, we may earn a step or two, we Gassho, we hands play together. Without a shadow of doubt, we joyfully receive the truth. With Gassho from the heart, goes Kansho corazón, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu. As we Gassho with hands put together, without a shadow of doubt, we joyfully receive the truth. しましょう、歌いましょう、ナモアミダ仏、ナモアミダ仏。With Gassho from the heart, with Gassho from the heart, ナモアミダ仏、ナモアミダ仏。Thank you, everybody.
The Golden Chain. I'm a link in Amida's golden chain of love that stretches around the world. I will keep my link bright and strong. I will be kind and gentle to every living thing and protect all who are weaker than myself. I will think pure and beautiful thoughts, say pure and beautiful words, and do pure and beautiful deeds. May every link in Amida's golden chain of love be bright and strong, and may we all attain perfect peace. Namo Amida Butsu.
ナモアミダ仏、
Namo Amida
ナ
Butsu.
モアミダ仏、
Namo Amida
ナモ
Butsu.
アミダ仏。Okay, please be seated.
Now, Rinban Sakamoto will introduce our guest speaker.
Good morning. We are very fortunate to have as our guest speaker this morning Dr. Reverend David Matsumoto. The first time I met Matsumoto Sensei was in Kyoto, Japan. He was a student, he was still a student, and I had gone to Japan on an exchange, I think, a program. But Reverend Matsumoto was giving a Dharma message in the Kaikan. And I remember the story was about the white path, but he had everybody pulling each other in the Hondo while he gave this Dharma message. It was like tug of war in the Hondo. I think that was right. You don't remember, do you? Oh, yeah. He was a student long time ago. But he is the immediate past president of the Institute of Buddhist Studies. He had served the BCA as the CEO, the chair, the CEO, the president of the Institute of Buddhist Studies. He has had several roles there in his long career as an educator, as an individual who has developed many programs that we all benefit from. And so very pleased to have for our guest speaker for this Ohigan service, Dr. Reverend David Matsumoto.
Good morning, everyone. It's nice to see all of you today. All of you very much awake on our first day of daylight savings time. I'm not awake, unfortunately, but we'll do my best. If any of you are kind of suffering from, we lost 1 hour of sleep, so if you need to catch up on your sleep right now, that's okay with me. You just gotta sleep with your eyes open, though, that's all, okay? Well, I want to thank everyone. I want to thank Reverend Sakamoto, Reverend Mikame, everyone at the San Jose Buddhist Church Betsuin for inviting me to take part in this year's Spring Ohigan service. This is a really wonderful time to see all of you again and to share the Dharma with you. So I do have a PowerPoint that I'd like to begin right now, if I may. Thank you. So the title of my talk is Ohigan, We Are All Connected. Next slide, please. So in Jodo Shinshu, Ohigan is also referred to as Sambujo, which is a gathering to praise Amida Buddha. Next slide, please. Ohigan is observed twice a year at the fall and spring equinoxes. These are times when nature and the universe are in harmony. The sun rises directly in the east and sets directly in the west. The length of the day and night are about the same, and the weather is neither too hot nor too cold. It's a beautiful day like our day today. May I have the next slide, please? So Ohigan means the other shore. O is an honorific prefix. It's like, ohashi, I can't think of it. There's a lot of words. Time we add the prefix O to show that we really revere that word. He means other, or far off or distant, and gan means shore. So Ohigan means the other shore. Next slide, please. Ohigan teaches us that about the other shore of nirvana, or the Pure Land. And standing on that other shore is Amida Buddha, who is calling to us to cross over. We hear the Buddha's name, Namo Amida Butsu, calling out to us to live each day with awareness, authenticity, and appreciation. Next slide, please. We talk about Ohigan interconnections in harmony. Ohigan is a time to appreciate the countless connections that we share in harmony with many, many persons in our lives. Next slide, please. We are able to appreciate and value differences between others and ourselves. We're able to live as ourselves together with all other beings in mutual respect, acceptance, and gratitude. Next slide, please. Today I'd like to talk about this Ohigan message by introducing you to a film, one of my favorite anime films from Japan. It's called Your Name. Has anyone heard of this before? Oh, good. We have some who've seen it. Most of you, it's the first time? Okay. Well, this film, it's a great film. I want to introduce part to you. It's one of my favorite anime. Can I have the next slide, please? So, Your Name, or in Japanese, the title is Kimi no Nawa, came out in 2016. It's a Japanese animated film written and directed by Shinkai Makoto, and it's really won a lot of acclaim and awards. It's 2016, so that's about 8 years ago, so I can talk about it, right? It's not spoilers. I should have put spoiler alert on my thing, so you can not watch, but it was 8 years ago, so I think I feel okay talking about it. Okay, may I have the next slide is a trailer clip from Your Name.
まだこの世界は僕を飼いならしてたいみたいだ望み通りだろう美しくもがくよ互いの砂時計眺めながらキスをしようよさよならから一番遠い場所で待ち合わせようついに時は来た昨日までは序章の序章で飛ばし読みでいいからこっからが僕だよ経験と知識とカビの生えかかった勇気を持って未だかつてないスピードで君の元へダイブをまどろみの中で生ぬるい甲羅にここでライドかを夢見たよ教室の窓の外に電車に揺られ運ばれる 初めましてなんてさ遥か彼方へと言い合って千年周期を一日で生きしよう
Well, I wanted to show you that clip just really to show you about the beautiful animation. It's really fantastic. So I really urge you, if you haven't seen it, to find it somewhere. I think it's streaming on some service somewhere. It's really worth your while. So today I want to talk about this film, Your Name, but for the Dharma School, I'm only going to talk about the first part, and for the adults, I'm going to talk about the second part. So there may be, those of you here in Dharma School, I really urge you to watch the film so you can watch the second part. And then adults, they're going to be so confused because they're going to come in here and not know anything about this, but that's the way it is. It can't be helped. Anyway, may I have the next slide, please? So let me talk about the two protagonists in Your Name. The first, her name is Mitsuha. Mitsuha is a high school student living in a small rural town of Itomori. She lives with a grandmother and her younger sister. Mitsuha thinks that Itomori is boring, and she wishes that she could live in a big city. She even wishes that she could be born as a boy, so she would have more freedom than she has in Itomori. May I have the next slide, please? The next protagonist is Taki. Taki is a high school student living with his father in Tokyo. Every day he goes to school and hangs out with his friends. He has a part-time job as a waiter, but what he really loves to do is draw. He loves to draw landscapes, buildings, and scenes of nature. May I have the next slide, please? So one night, Mitsuha has a dream that she's a boy living in Tokyo. But when she wakes up, it's a weird thing because the dream has become even more clear and real. At the very same time, Taki wakes up to discover he is a girl living in a country town. What happens is each of them wakes up in each other's body. They've switched places. It's kind of like the movie Freaky Friday, if any of you remember back then. Okay. So this is the first part of the film. I want to talk about this first part. May I have the next slide, please? This causes all sorts of confusion and trouble. Taki, in Mitsuha's body, sees her younger sister, Yotsuha, who thinks that her sister is acting really strangely. Mitsuha, in Taki's body, gets lost going to school and is late for class. Both meet with each other's friends, who can't figure out why their friend is acting so weird and different. Teenage hijinks ensue. Next slides, please. The next day, Mitsuha and Taki wake up in their own bodies. They think that this must have been a dream, but their families, their friends, and their teachers are all scolding them for having acted so strangely, and later they switch bodies again, and then again, and then again. Each time, Mitsuha and Taki's body and Taki and Mitsuha's body do things or say things that seem very out of place or out of character. And so, both Mitsuha and Taki start getting really mad at each other. Who are you? Why are you ruining my life, they say. Next slide, please. Oh, I think I missed a slide. That's okay. We can stay here. So you saw the previous slide. They had written insults to each other on each other's bodies. So when they would wake up, they'd see this insult from the other. So the question they're asking themselves is, who are you? This is the very first stage of the relationship. Each is focused on the other person. Each blames the other for all of their problems. Next slide, please. But gradually, over time, they start to appreciate the other. They learn how to communicate by leaving notes, messages on their phones. They start to learn how to handle their body switching. And they also start to learn how to help each other out to get through difficulties and hardships. Next slide, please. Mitsuha and Taki both begin to realize that the other person is changing how they look at themselves and how others look at them. Taki brings out the assertive side of Mitsuha. Mitsuha brings out a more sensitive side in Taki. And they begin to ask, who am I? Am I a good person, a bad person? Am I selfish or childish? Can I become a better person? Can I change my life? Next slide, please. And then as they begin to continue to form a connection, they form a bond and a friendship. Mitsuha and Taki realize that they're helping each other grow. They're growing and changing because of each other together. Both Mitsuha and Taki are becoming new people together. Next slide, please. We are connected. Oh, I'm sorry. Next slide, please. So there's a growing connection between them, even though they've technically never met, and now they're beginning to share each other's thoughts and hopes and dreams and feelings, and they're helping each other grow. And they like what they're becoming. They're becoming happier together. So we're connected. This is a lesson that we can all learn when we share our lives, our thoughts, dreams, and hopes and feelings with others. When we respect and support another person, we're able to appreciate and value differences between others and ourselves. We don't have to be the same. We don't as others. And of course, we can't be the same. But each of us has infinite value as a person in connection with our family, friends, and all others. Next slide, please. We are all connected. We're able to appreciate and value differences between ourselves and others. We're able to live as ourselves together with all other beings in mutual respect, acceptance, and gratitude. Next slide, please. We're all connected in harmony. We can grow together in harmony, just as flowers, trees, animals, water, earth, the air are all different from everything else. Yet each of us is important. Each of us has value as our individual selves and together with all other beings. We can help each other grow and be happy. So Ohigan is a time for us to appreciate the countless connections that we share in harmony with many, many persons in our lives. Next slide, please. We hear the Buddha's name, Namo Amida Butsu, calling out to us to live each day with awareness, authenticity, and appreciation. We can respect and value our lives and the lives of all others. The famous Zen priest Nakagawa Soen wrote this poem, "We are all flowers blooming, a universe in bloom." Next slide, please. So now please join me in Gassho as we recite and hear the Buddha's name, calling out to us, Namo Amida Butsu, Namanda, 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 Namanda. Thank you very much. So I urge you to go out and get the film, Your Name. You'll really enjoy it, and you can find out what goes on in the second half, okay? Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend Dr. Matsumoto. We will now have Gatha farewell on page 45, followed by the promise located on page 5 in the little book and page 15 in the big book.
Dharma school over for another day. Let us gather round the shrine, bow our heads and say, thank you, teacher, for your help. Thank you, everyone. Buddha's love will keep us safe till our work is done. So we'll meet again next week. Won't you take good care? Let us try to do what's right, always kind and fair. We shall spread the happiness faith in Buddha brings. Now it's time to say goodbye till we meet again. Namu Amida Butsu, sing this fine refrain. Namu Amida Butsu, sunny day or rain. Namu Amida Butsu, strong in faith remain. Namu Amida Butsu, till we meet again.
Oh, the promise. We thank the Buddha for showing us the way of freedom. We will endeavor to walk in His noble path every day of our lives. Namo Amida Butsu.
Namo Amida Butsu.
Namo Amida Butsu.
Namo Amida Butsu.
Namo Amida
Namo
Butsu.
Amida Butsu.
Thank you to Rinban Sakamoto, Reverend Mikame, Reverend Dr. Matsumoto, Mr. Akizuki, Mrs. Tanabe, and to AV Tech, Mr. Kitagawa. Are there any announcements?
Hi, I'm Tatsukamoto. We're having our annual Troop 611 family dinner. We are selling tickets right outside. Please come support us.
Hello. Who knows what this is? It's a pickleball paddle. My name is Gary Ching from our newly formed pickleball group. We are currently meeting on playing pickleball on Thursdays between 9:30 and noon. We're looking to expand the hours as people become interested. I have a contact sheet in the back if you would like to be included in any future emails that we send out discussing the group. We are looking for anyone who wants to play, beginners, veterans. We're a rec group more than a competitive group, but we try to strike that balance to have both. So if you're interested in learning how to play pickleball, come out on Thursday, or you can sign up for the contact list. Thank you.
Good morning. I have several announcements or notices. Number one is for the BWA. Thank you very much for all that participated in our fundraiser at Minato. I heard that there were a lot of people that attended and took out takeout and so forth. So we appreciate your support, and want to thank Joanne and Jean at Minato for their support of BWA as well. And then the next one is on soul line dancing. Okay, we are going to meet today, okay, at 11:30 in the gym, and we're going to be doing our routines and things, and you know, it's a lot of fun. So I encourage you to come. We had a great turnout last month. I want to duplicate that this month if possible, so please come and join us. Okay, now, next one is art contest. Okay, it's going on. We have an art contest for Eco Sangha Earth Day, and it's on upcycled items. Okay, take something that was used for something else and repurpose it and make something out of it again. So try and do that, and we do have awards for this and money. And so you can get an award, and we've upped it. It's now for first place, it's $50. So that's not anything to sneeze about, okay? So $50, and then I think the second place was $30, and third place is $20. So you know, you can make something out of this, and you know, make something that's and we can use again. So try your luck, and you know, it's a lot of fun. And the deadline is April 7th. So it has to, your art needs to be put in the office by April 7th, okay? All right, thank you.
Good morning. Let's see. In 3 weeks, we're having our second fundraiser for the Lahaina effort. So on March 31st, we're doing a takeout lunch. So it's just takeout only. I also know that is Easter Sunday, so talk to your parents and tell them, would you rather have a hard-boiled egg or a chicken katsu lunch? I mean, to me, it's a no-brainer because I don't like hard-boiled eggs, so for me, it's really simple. So, so again, we're doing a chicken katsu lunch. That's also going to have rice, green salad, and mac salad, and a dessert, all for $20, and all the proceeds are going to the Lahaina Honganji. Let's see, the other thing, I think I need to call Rinban out here. We'd like to thank everyone for the One Sangha event. That was Rinban's idea, but I'd rather have Rinban talk about this, so I don't have to. Thank you.
when we were planning this, I kept pointing at Larry. Larry, you do it, you do it. And it was surprisingly well attended. And thank you very much for all of the work and the effort that everybody kind of put together so that we could enjoy this one Sangha. And in a way, that's what it's about. We wanted to bring people together and do things and just kind of enjoy, no stress, well, low stress, and have a fun morning together. Come by, sit down, have something to eat, talk story, and then go home, play pickleball, watch a movie. And that sounds like a real interesting movie. We'll have to rent that. Excuse me, but yeah, it worked out really nice. Larry and I are kind of arguing right now about whether we have it in 3 months or in 6 months. And so maybe we'll come to some consensus about this. But thank you again, Dharma School and the DSPO, the Scouts, all of the people that were involved with the putting together of this one Sangha Sunday. It's kind of like stone soup, you know. People bring things and we share them and we have a good time. Well, thank you very much for all of you who made that morning certainly enjoyable for everyone that attended. Thank you. I think that's it.
Before everyone leaves the temple, please straighten all the books for the next service. Those of you who are interested are welcome to attend the adult English service following this service. For your safety, please obey the crossing guards and look both ways before crossing the street. Thank you for attending today's Spring Ohigan service.
Thank you. Good morning, good morning. I saw you. Good morning, good morning. Good morning, good morning. Did you take home that thing?
Yes, and I checked the corners to make sure it didn't get bumped. And I saw the lines and I realized it was the artist's original pencil measure. Not that the rebond defaced it. Thank you very much.
Not at all. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Good morning, good morning. Hi, good. Good morning. Hi, good morning, John. Good morning, Jean. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Hey, Gassho. Good morning. Good morning. Morning, Harry.
We weren't arguing.
No, not at all. We were.
You said
Good
we were
morning.
arguing. You're
Oh,
giving
no.
this impression that we're arguing.
It's an enthusiastic difference of opinion.
I don't know if it was enthusiastic. Oh, we were arguing. I didn't know we were arguing.
Good morning. Good morning.
I haven't had an argument with anybody in a long time.
Oh, that's good. That's very good.
That's because I just do what Lynn tells me. Yeah, yeah. You What are we singing anyway? We practiced it. You heard it.
Juseige is going to be doing another Dharma discussion soon. I'm staying or I was going to try to stay it's just, this is Dharma class me, and I was right Mosque Crater is far enough. Terrible.
Good morning, everyone. It's so nice to see you this morning on such a beautiful day. I'm Joyce Iwasaki, and I will be your chairperson for this morning. Before the service begins, I need to remind you that there are no food or drink allowed in the hondo, and also please turn off your cell phones. Are there any first-time people here this morning? If so, you can stand up and introduce yourself. And so do you live in San Jose or are you visiting?
I'm visiting. I'm from the Santa Clara University.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. We will begin this morning's service with Sambujo on page 24 in the large service book, followed by Sutra chanting Junirai on page 120 in the small Dharma school service book, and on page 67 in the large service book.
Namanda, 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 namanda. this occasion of the Spring Ohigan service, the members of the San Jose Buddhist Church, Betsuin, have reverently come before Amida Buddha. With deepest reverence and thankfulness for the all-embracing wisdom and compassion of Amida, we reaffirm the three homages. I go to the Buddha for guidance. I go to the Dharma for guidance. I go to the Sangha for guidance. Daihyo Shoko 주는 Namanda, Namandas, Namanda, Namanda, Namandas, Namanda.
We will now have Daihyo Shoko from the following organizations: Adult Buddhist Association, Morgan Hill Hawaii, Buddhist Women's Association, San Jose Betsuin. Now, would you please rise if you're able to sing with Gassho from the Heart, which is in the second and third pages of the Yellow Handbook, and will be accompanied by a video of the song.
Okay, so unfortunately we have no organist today, so please sing along with me. All right, so 3, 2, 1. Here we come together, some for need and some of up, in spite of all our differences. We reach for the same bright star, and on this human pathway, we may earn a step or two, but always we remember to feel deep gratitude. And here at Seidan and Butsu, as we Gassho with hands placed together, without a shred of doubt, we joyfully receive the truth. With Gassho from the heart, con Gassho corazón, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu. As we Gassho with hands together, without a shred of doubt, we joyfully receive the truth. Gassho shimashou, utaimashou, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu. With Gassho from the heart, with Gassho from the heart, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu. Thank you. Good job. All right. So please remain standing. So we're going to read the Three Treasures, which is located on the smaller book, page on 3. Okay. So when you read the Three Treasure, Leader in Sangha Unison Part, so there's a verse. On the third verse, there's a line saying that in the spirit of the universal brotherhood. So when you read this, please replace the brotherhood with the oneness. So you're gonna read this like in the spirit of universal oneness. Okay, all right. Three treasures. Hard is it to be born into human life? Now we are living it. Difficult is it to hear the teaching of the Blessed One? Now we hear it. If we do not deliver ourselves in the present life, no hope is there that we shall be free from suffering and sorrow in the ocean of birth and death. Let us reverently take refuge in the three treasures of the truth. I take refuge at Buddha. May we all together absorb into yourselves the principle of your way to enlightenment, and awaken in yourselves in a spring well. I take refuge in Dharma. May we all together be submerged in the doctrine and gaze wisdom as deep as the ocean. I take refuge in Sangha. May we all together become units in natural accord in your large harmony, and in spiritual oneness for selfishness. Even through ages of myriads of kalpas, hard is it to hear such an excellent, profound, and wonderful doctrine. Now we are able to hear and receive it. Let us thoroughly understand the true meaning of the Tathagata's teaching. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Thank you. Please be seated. Sorry, I'm wearing the Invisalign, so really it's how to speak with this. Sorry about that.
And now Raymond Sakamoto will introduce our guest speaker.
Good morning and welcome to this morning's service. We're very fortunate to have as our guest speaker this morning Reverend Dr. David Matsumoto. Matsumoto Sensei has served the BCA in the capacities as a minister at the Stockton Buddhist Temple when he served there along with Ohata Sensei. And under Ohata Sensei's mentorship, Reverend Matsumoto learned a great deal about the BCA and the practices that that our temples are involved with. But most of his work has been with the Institute of Buddhist Studies. He has been an instructor there. He has served in various capacities, and his most recent position at the BCA, at the IBS, has been president of the Institute of Buddhist Studies. He will retire in June, and the transition from the office of the president has been passed on to Dr. Scott Mitchell. And so he's not quite free of his responsibilities. He still is very actively involved in managing the day-to-day operations of the Institute of Buddhist Studies. We're very fortunate to have with us this morning Reverend Dr. David Matsumoto.
Morning, everyone. Nice to see all of you. It's a pleasure to be here in San Jose, and I want to thank Rimban Sakamoto for inviting me, and also I want to thank Reverend Mikame for all her great help, and all the leadership at the Betsuin for inviting me to be a part of today's service. This is a very important service, of course, Ohigan, so I want to talk about it a little bit. I have a PowerPoint. May I ask you to see the first slide? Thank you very much. So my talk is entitled Remembrance, Remembering and Being Remembered. I'd like to talk about that today. May I have the next slide, please? And ask all of you to please join me in Gassho as we listen to the words of Shinran Shonin. Further, other power means no working is true working. Working, that is negated, is the practicer's calculating and designing. Tathagata's primal vow surpasses conceptual understanding. It is the design of the wisdom of Buddhas. It is not the design of ordinary beings. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Thank you very much. May I have the next slide, please? So Ohigan is a very important moment in our lives. It teaches us of the other shore of nirvana, or the Pure Land, which is in contrast to this shore of samsara, the world of delusion. Standing on that other shore is Amida Buddha, who is beckoning us to cross over. We hear the Buddha's name, Namo Amida Butsu, calling out to us to live each day with awareness authenticity, and appreciation. May I have the next slide, please? Ohigan is also a time when the connections between this shore and the other shore are said to be especially close. This is a time for personal reflection and for remembering those who have crossed over to the other shore before us. May I have the next slide, please? So Ohigan, interconnections in harmony. Ohigan is also a time for us to appreciate the countless connections that we share in harmony with many, many persons in our lives. Next slide, please. The Buddha teaches us that we are truly able to live in harmony when we are able to know that each of us is unique and yet interconnected with everyone and everything else. We are able to appreciate and value differences between others and ourselves. We're able to live as ourselves, together with all beings in mutual respect, acceptance, and gratitude. Next slide, please. At this 2024 Spring Ohigan service, the members of the San Jose Buddhist Church Betsuin have gathered together in joy to receive the Dharma in the presence of Amida Buddha, the embodiment of boundless wisdom and compassion. We also receive this opportunity to remember all those who have passed away before us. We reawaken memories of them within our hearts and reflect in gratitude on their continuing influence in our lives today. Next slide, please. At the Spring Ohigan service, we have gathered together to share an experience of remembrance. Next slide, please. At Ohigan, we receive this opportunity to reopen our hearts and minds to a treasure of remembrances of all those loved ones who have passed away and crossed over to the other shore before us. Next slide, please. If I may read the words of Shinran Shonin once again, further, other power means that no working is true working. Working, that is negated, is the practicer's calculating and designing. Tathagata's primal vow surpasses conceptual understanding. It is the design of the wisdom of Buddhas. It is not the design of ordinary beings. The passage that I read to you today is from one of Shinran Shonin's letters, letter number 7, from his Lamp for the Latter Ages. And here Shinran Shonin remembers the words of his teacher, Honen Shonin, who said, "No working is true working." Next slide, please. Okay, thank you. So, perhaps we might get a better appreciation of Shinran Shonin's teaching if we think about it in this way. No working, that is the first working, means that we abandon our calculation, thinking that we can attain birth into Pure Land on our own. True working, the second working, means that only Amida Buddha's wisdom and compassion will truly bring all beings to birth. Now, I admit this is still a little difficult to understand. So let me try to give you a sense of my appreciation of this teaching by reflecting a bit on the meaning of remembrance. Next slide, please. So what is remembrance? Today I would like to reflect on this experience of remembrance. Usually, remembrance means that we remember a person or an experience or words or events from our past. Perhaps we experience longing for his presence, for the touch of her hand, or the sound of his voice. We wish to be together again, here, now, and forever. Next slide, please. As we continue to reflect on the experience of remembrance, we come to realize that, in fact, we are the ones who are being remembered. We come to understand and appreciate all of those people, places, and experiences that have allowed us to live our lives today, to be who we are today. We come to realize how the hearts, minds, love, hopes, sacrifices, and faith of those loved ones now dwell in our hearts, live in our lives, form the foundation for our futures. Next slide, please. In this way, through this experience of remembrance, we come to reflect upon our lives and we hear the teaching of the Buddha and Shinran Shonin. Next slide, please. Shinran Shonin taught us of the boundless wisdom and compassion that supports and embraces our lives. Shinran Shonin urges us to entrust ourselves to that primal vow of Amida Buddha so that we may live our lives fully with joy, here, now, and forever. Next slide, please. This is a very interesting and, I believe, important thing about human life. At least it seems to me. Whenever we share true love with someone or experience something that is genuine, authentic, and truly valuable in life, I believe the sense we have is that it comes not about because of anything that we have done to make it happen, but in a way that feels just right and natural, that it was almost supposed to have happened, that it comes not from ourselves, but from outside of ourselves. Our being human and being able to live our human lives is very much this way, I believe. Next slide, please. Okay, now here's the part that I'm a little nervous. How many of you were at the Dharma school service? Oh, some of you were. How many were not? Okay, this is going to be a problem. At the Dharma school service, I introduced to the students an animated film entitled Your Name, or in Japanese, Kimi no Nawa. It came out in 2016, and it was a big hit. Very, very popular movie. At the time, the most popular animated film in Japan, since surpassed. But it was a really important film. Now, with the Dharma school kids, I talked about the first part of the film. I was going to talk to you about the second part of the film. However, some of you were not there. So let me give you a very quick synopsis. This is an animated film, really about a number of people, but specifically two people, okay? There's a young woman by the name of Mitsuha, who's a high school student living in rural Japan in a town called Itomori. She's very bored. She wants to get out of there. She wishes she could live in the big city. The other protagonist is a young high school student by the name of Taki. He lives in Tokyo. He lives with his father. He just kind of hangs out with his friends. He loves to draw. He loves to draw buildings, scenes, and other things. One day, to their mutual surprise, they wake up in each other's bodies. And they go through this experience of having to deal with being the other person, and they make all these mistakes, they get into trouble, they cause all sorts of hardship for the other. This relationship ends after a day, but then it happens again, and it happens again and again. And over time, they begin to gain a real appreciation for the other as well as themselves, and they come to realize a very strong and close connection, even though they've never met. Is that enough? Okay, that's the synopsis of the first part of the film. That's what I talked about with the Dharma school kids. You get the second half, okay? All right, here we go. So this film, Your Name, is actually filled with a sense of religion. It's a dramatic film. I really urge you to get it. Have any of you seen it before? Nobody's seen it. Okay, I'm going to spoil this for you, but it's an 8-year-old film, so it's not really a spoiler. But if you have access to a streaming service, I really urge you to look for it. It's worth your while. It's one of my favorite animated films of all time. But it has a sense of religion. But in this film, the religion is Shinto, the native Japanese way of the kami. Okay, and I'll talk about that. So may I have the next slide, please? So Mitsuha, her grandmother, and her younger sister live at a Shinto shrine, and they conduct Shinto rituals. Next slide. One of the rituals is that the girls chew some rice, and then they spit it out, the saliva in the rice, into a cup, and that is the basis of sake, a special kind of sake called kuchikami sake, okay, a very ritual, sacred sake. The next slide, please. In the film, the grandma takes the girls to a sacred Shinto shrine to offer their kuchikami sake. The shrine is located in an old crater near Itomori, the rural town. At this time, however, keep this in mind, Taki is actually in the body of Mitsuha. Okay, it gets complicated. Hang in there with me. Okay, so Taki is in the body of Mitsuha as they go to the sacred shrine. Okay, and they enshrine their Kuchi Kamizaki. Okay, the next slide, please. Oh, yeah. So in this story, there's news that a great comet will pass closely by the Earth. It promised to be a spectacular celestial sight for all to see. Meanwhile, the connection between Mitsuha and Taki has continued to draw them closer, even though they have still never met in person. They keep switching bodies, okay? They're beginning to fall in love. Taki decides to call Mitsuha, but he can't reach her, and he's told that her number has been disconnected. Mitsuha, meanwhile, is heartbroken. She also wanted to meet Taki, so she traveled all the way to Tokyo to meet him. She waited to see him, finally saw him on a train, but when she did, he looked different from what she imagined, younger, and he didn't know who she was. Still, she told him her name, Mitsuha, and gave him a red string that she had used to tie her hair. Now back home, she dressed for the summer festival, and that evening she watches as part of the comet breaks off and plummets toward Earth. Next slide, please. The comet falls from the heavens, heading directly toward the town of Itomori. From the night that Taki tried to call Mitsuha and failed to reach her, their body switching stopped. Taki, now desperate, decides to go and search for Mitsuha. He only has distant memories of the days when he lived in Mitsuha's village as Mitsuha, but he sets off anyway, just with this, a bunch of drawings that he made of those memories. Joined by his two friends, they go on a search, but the search is in vain. They're about to give up when the owner of a small shokudo they're eating at recognizes his hometown of Itomori from one of Taki's drawings. He drives them to Itomori, and, next slide please, they find a ruined town and a lake now consisting of two craters. Then Taki learns the truth. Itomori had been destroyed 3 years ago when part of the comet fell and struck the town during the summer festival. Many people were killed. In shock and disbelief, Taki soon discovered that Mitsuha, her grandmother, and sister were all killed in the disaster. I tell you, this movie does get a little complicated here, okay? Grief-stricken and confused, Taki goes to the site where he, as Mitsuha, had enshrined her Kuchi Kamizake. Hoping to reconnect with her, he drinks the sake and falls into a trance. He sees the entirety of Mitsuha's life, and then he falls asleep on top of the crater. It is at this point that their connection deepens to another dimension. Stay with me here. Mitsuha wakes up in Taki's body. He's now laying at the top of the crater in the present day. As she looks out, she's horrified to see that her town had been destroyed by the comet 3 years earlier. Taki wakes up in Mitsuha's body once again. But this takes place 3 years earlier and 1 day before the comet is set to strike the town. He immediately goes out to warn Mitsuha's family, friends, and the townspeople to evacuate the town. But it's to no avail. He's running into all sorts of obstacles. Finally, next slide, please. Finally, Taki, as Mitsuha, goes up to the crater near the Shinto shrine in search of Mitsuha. Mitsuha, as Taki, is still there, but 3 years later. There they search for each other, but they can't find each other. Next slide, please. Until the moment of twilight. At that magical time, their connection brings them together, and they meet for the first time. Next slide, please. Taki returns the red string to Mitsuha, saying that he had received it from someone 3 years ago and had worn it around his wrist ever since. They realize that Mitsuha must now return to her town in order to warn everyone about the impending disaster. They promise to remember each other, but just as they begin to write their names on each other's hands, the moment of twilight ends and they are alone again. But thanks to both of them, Mitsuha does save the townspeople of Itomori, who were made to move to a safe place when the comet strikes. Next slide, please. However, Mitsuha and Taki no longer remember each other. They both graduate from school. Mitsuha finally realizes her dream and moves to Tokyo. And then one day, just by chance, while each is commuting to work, their trains pass and they see each other. Next slide, please. They catch a quick glimpse of each other and share a feeling about someone for whom they had been longing. Next slide, please. Not knowing why, both Mitsuha and Taki get off their trains and begin running through the neighborhoods of Tokyo, looking for a person they do not know. But a feeling compels them to search for that person. Next slide, please. Finally, on the steps of a long staircase in a Tokyo neighborhood, they pass each other, stop, and dare to speak. Next slide, please. As I mentioned, this movie, Your Name, is filled with a sense of religious spirituality, the religion of Shinto, the native Japanese way of the kami. Next slide, please. Mitsuha's grandmother teaches her granddaughters about musubi, and she describes it in this way. Tying thread is musubi. Connecting people is musubi. The flow of time is musubi. They are all the God's power. Our braided cords converge and take shape. They twist, tangle, sometimes unravel, break, then connect again. That is musubi. That is time. I'm going to read that to you again because this is probably the most crucial line in the film. Okay. Tying thread, which is one of the Shinto customs, right, is musubi. Connecting people is musubi. The flow of time is musubi. These are all the God's power. Our braided cords converge and take shape. They twist, tangle, sometimes unravel, break, then connect again. That is musubi. That is time. Next slide, please. Musubi, or connections, is not exclusively Shinto. Rather, I believe it speaks to something very universal, very human. Life exists because of connections, and connections are what make us human. In that way, Buddhism can teach us about musubi as well. Next slide, please. Thank you. So musubi can be defined in a number of ways. It could be a knot. It could mean some things are tied together. It can talk about a relationship. It can talk about connections. Or maybe in a Buddhist sense, it refers to inconceivable causes and conditions. Or even a more Buddhist sense, about infinite karmic connections. As I said, I think this sense of, a concept of musubi is not simply a Shinto one, but I think it also, we can find it in the Buddhist teachings. Now, I just want to note this. This is very different from a rice ball. A lot of us know about musubi. That's a different musubi. Okay. Just to let you know. Okay. Next slide, please. What we learn from this, we are all connected. Next slide, please. Another word for connection that I would like to reflect on today is remembrance. It is a realization that our connection with others, especially with those we love, never ends. Next slide, please. Connections carry on endlessly. They cross space and time. Next slide, please. There are a number of different kinds of connections. Connections can be physical. We share a home. We touch another person. We have conversations. We walk hand in hand. They can be psychological. We share our thoughts, ideas, hopes, and dreams. They can be emotional. We share love, gratitude, values, joy, and sadness. They can be social. Our connections can be with friends and family, people in community or work. They can be communal, schools, work, temples, and clubs. They can be part of history or customs or rituals. They can refer to a common past, to stories that we share, to acts of meaning. They could be memories and values and lessons about another, from another, with another. And they can refer to personal habits or routines. We get up, we sit in the same chair, we take the same walk, we listen to the same music. So there is a sense of connection or musubi that pervades our entire lives. Next slide, please. Connections or musubi are real and unending because we are human. And to be human, to be a living being, is to be a bundle of connections. Next slide, please. We are connected. Next slide, please. We are all connected. Next slide. We are all connected in harmony. And next slide, please. These connections are what I mean by remembrance. Remembrance is real. It is going on now. It will go on forever. These connections go on when we remember those who have passed away before us, and even when we don't remember. Next slide, please. Just because we don't remember, it doesn't mean that remembrance does not go on. Next slide, please. Even if we forget to remember our loved ones who have passed away, it doesn't mean that our remembrance of them stops. Even if our memories begin to fade, even if we can no longer remember an experience, we cannot hear his voice or see her face anymore. It doesn't mean that our loved ones have stopped existing or stopped being real or that they have been forgotten. They will never be forgotten. They cannot be forgotten because they are part of remembrance, found in every one of our thoughts, words, and deeds. Remembrance, connection, musubi is ongoing. May I have the next slide, please? I'd like to return to the film, Your Name. At the end of the film, as I mentioned, both Mitsuha and Taki stand at the tip of the crater Itomori. At twilight, they have finally met in person. They vow to remember each other's name and find each other again. But their magical relationship has accomplished its goal. The people of Itomori will be saved because of them. And the price to be paid is that that magical relationship will no longer function as it had. And so they both forget each other's names. First with broken hearts, and then in the absence of any memory of the other. Next slide, please. They have forgotten each other's names and who the other was, and yet a connection remains. Unseen and unvoiced, the connection between them continues throughout time and space. During the next 5 years, that connection only appears to them as a longing, a feeling that they're searching for something, for someone, for some place. And for both of them, pardon me, for both of them, it is only that feeling, that longing, that question, which seems to remain in their hearts. Next slide, please. And yet, when they finally meet again on the steps in a Tokyo neighborhood 5 years later, their shared question reawakens their connection, which has never ended and has grown beyond themselves to the world itself. Their musubi has converged and taken shape. It had gotten twisted, tangled, sometimes unraveled and broken, and now it has connected again. And now, in this moment, their connection has revealed itself again to Mitsuha and Taki and taken voice in their shared question to each other. What is your name? Next slide, please. That's the title of the film. And that's the conclusion of the film, Kimi no Na wa. But what this film tells us, I believe, next slide, we are all connected. Next slide, please. Shinran Shonin teaches us that in other power, no working is true working. When we abandon our calculation, think that we can attain birth in the Pure Land on our own, we are able to realize that only Amida Buddha's wisdom and compassion will truly bring all beings to birth. Next slide, please. Remembrance is ongoing, here, now, and forever, even without our own remembering. Remembrance is truly active. It is true working. And even when we can no longer recall or remember by ourselves, remembrance goes on. Next slide, please. And when we realize that, especially at this time of Ohigan, we come to understand that we are not the ones doing the remembering. Rather, we are the ones being remembered. In this way, through this experience of remembrance, we come to understand and appreciate all of those people, places, and experiences that have allowed us to live our lives today, to be who we are today. We come to realize how the hearts, minds, love, hopes, sacrifices, and faith of those loved ones now dwell in our hearts, live in our lives, form the foundation for our futures. We come to reflect upon our lives, and we hear the teaching of the Buddha and Shinran Shonin, who taught us of the boundless wisdom and compassion that comes to us from the other shore to support and embrace our lives, who urge us to entrust ourselves to that primal vow of Amida Buddha, so that we may live our lives fully, with joy, here, now, and forever. Next slide, please. Please join me now in Gassho as we say and hear the name of Amida Buddha. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida.
Thank you so much, Reverend Dr. Matsumoto. Your message will stay with us because of his delivery, but also because of the imagery that he presented today. Thank you so much. Now, please rise for Gatha, Ondokusan II on page 76 in the small Dharma service book.
Yorahi dahi no ondokuhan miyoko ni shite mo ozubeshi shishu 知識の音の雲骨を砕きてもシャスべしナモアミダ仏ナモアミダ仏ナモアミダ仏ナモアミダ仏 Thank you. Please be seated.
Are there any announcements?
Hello, my name is Gary Ching. I'm from our newly formed pickleball group. We meet on Thursday mornings between 9:30 and until about noon. We are open to having more people come. It's an open gym for playing pickleball. We have beginners, we have people just learning the rules, and then people who've been playing for a little bit of time. We'd love to have more people show up as we're trying to go from 2 courts to 3 courts, and the more people that show, the more fun we could have. If you are interested or you have any questions, I do have a contact sheet in the back that you can sign so that we can let you know what's going on. Thank you.
Good morning. I've been asked to make several announcements. This is from Kevin. He didn't want to come up here and do this, so I'm reading his phone, so please bear with me. I don't know what I'm talking about here. Let's see. So this is to announce a class, Buddhism Clearly and Simply, Applying Jodo Shinshu Buddhism to Our Lives. It's by Reverend Kenji Akahoshi, and this is going to be taught on May 8th, 22nd, and June 5th at 7 o'clock in our boardroom in the office here. So if you have any questions, please contact the church office. Did I do that right? Okay. Linda Ichinaga has asked me to make some announcements that were announced at 9:30. So the Earth Day art contest for this year, which is sponsored by Dharma School and Eco Sangha. This year's theme is upcycled items. And they're looking for the artistic spark in all of us that can make something out of recycled materials and make it into something useful again. So there are 4 categories, and there are monetary awards for each of the 4 categories. These are due by Sunday, April 7th. So please look for that. Linda's also asked me to announce that in 8 minutes, there's another soul line dancing class going on. So as she says, put on your dancing shoes. It's open to anybody, whether you've done this before or not. So please join them. Oh, there is our annual golf tournament occurring the last Monday of April, April 29th at the Villages Golf Course. We've already got, so we are limited to 100 players because of the cart limitations. We already have over half of the slots filled up. So please, if you intend to play, get your entries in. And outside of that, we are also hold an annual raffle drawing. And you don't have to play golf, of course, to enter a raffle. So it's $20 for the special raffle prizes. And again, you can get those tickets through the office and also online if you look in the Dharma newsletter. First prize is $4,000, and then there are 10 $100 prizes. So, and we limit it to, I think, 400 tickets sold. So please be on the lookout for that. Okay, and then 3 weeks from today, we are holding our second fundraiser for Lahaina. We are doing a takeout plate lunch fundraiser again. I have been told by several different people that is also Easter Sunday for those of you who also have families or friends that you celebrate Easter with. So you can still purchase our plate lunch. It's a chicken katsu plate lunch with green salad, rice, mac salad, and a dessert. And so if you celebrate Easter lunch with family or friends, you could have the chicken katsu for dinner, or you could do it the other way around. If you're having dinner with friends, and you could have the chicken katsu lunch, because why wouldn't you rather have chicken katsu than a hard-boiled egg that your kids or grandkids found instead? So, and I don't understand how any of that works. I don't know how an Easter bunny lays hard-boiled eggs, but that's another question. Anyway, I've lost my train of thought again. Let's see, deadline to purchase these lunches is in 8 days, so March 18th, so a week from tomorrow. So please turn those in. You can either pay through the office, or again, on the Dharma newsletter, there's a QR code, and you can pay online. But if you want to avoid the fees, just give a check to the office. And lastly, 3 weeks ago, we had our first One Sangha event. That was the brainchild of Rinban Sakamoto, and then he stuck me with trying to do some of it. So I'm going to stick Rinban Sakamoto like I did at 9:30 to have him talk about it. But before I do that, I'd like to thank everybody who helped out. I mean, it was sort of organized, disorganized, but we have such a wonderful Sangha. Some people just stepped up and said, you need help. I can tell, Larry, you're hopeless. You need help. So some people just stepped up and helped us, and thank you to all those out there. Sorry, I can't remember everybody's names, and I don't know everybody's name, but so many people helped us out, so thank you. So, all yours.
Thank you, Larry. And thank you, everyone, for your participation in our first One Sangha. It really was an event that I think was enjoyed by everyone, and the intent was to bring people together and spend a little bit of time, and then share something to eat, and then go home. And so it kind of worked out that way. And thank you again. So many people stepped up to help organize, to prepare food, games were also put out by the game club. So it was a lot of fun for everybody. And again, thank you. We'll try to schedule another one in the hopefully not too distant future. But thank you again, everyone who helped out with that event. Before we conclude, I'd like to thank Reverend Dr. David Matsumoto for joining us this morning for that wonderful message. And I hope we carry with us that musubi, not the rice ball, but the musubi that is in our lives that connects us mindfully connects us with all life. Thank you very much. Is that it? Thank you very much, everyone, for your presence here this morning. There is a Japanese language service immediately following. So if you would like to please join us for that, please come forward for Shoko. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, everyone, for attending, and I'd like to thank Rinban Sakamoto, Reverend Mikame, Reverend Dr. Matsumoto, Dennis Sakizuki, Sumi Tanabe, and Kevin Kitagawa for being our tech person. Please come up for a shoko. That was wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah, it was really nice. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Good morning. ちょっと読んでください。はい、はい。すいません。Morning.
When I mentioned the guest speaker to Helen, she said, "Oh, I know him."
Yeah.
She knows everybody before me.
You may not want to expose yourself to it.
He did a nice sermon.
Oh, thank you very much.
Yeah, when I mentioned it to my sister Helen, she says, "Oh, I know him."
Oh,
I don't know if you ever met her. She went to Jodo Shinshu-san.
oh, yes.
Tagawa?
Yes, I know her very well.
Because she said your name sounded familiar.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you so much.
Great.
Thank you very much. Nice to see you again. Nice to see all of you again. Thank you so much. Sumi, thank you. Thank you, Sumi. Thank you very much. Oh, it's a great, you should go get the film. It's a great film.
Japanese language.